thought I would take this opportunity to give you a little bit of an update as to where we are with the Road Accident Fund at the moment. Those of you who read our emails will be aware of all the problems we face. They range from problems we have not even told you about. For example, in the last month, judges have said in 2 of our matters that the amount that we've agreed with the Road Accident Fund is too high, and that the judges would like to lower those figures. As you can imagine, the 2 clients involved in those matters are not very excited about that, and we thought the offers were perfectly fair and not too high. It's just an example of the kind of challenges that we face in this field that you as clients are simply not aware of. I don't think any one of you would imagine that if there was an agreement reached between us and the Road Accident Fund, that a judge would step in and say that they have the right to decide that you should get less money. But that is exactly what has happened in 2 cases. That, I'm sorry to say, is not even close to the biggest problem we face, which of course is the cash flow problems of the Road Accident Fund. It is important though, that long before we get to that point, that you appreciate that we deal with so many dramas en route that you just cannot imagine. We get almost no response from the Road Accident Fund. They did not work during the COVID-19 months, the lockdown. They did not load up settlements during that time. And they've now fallen behind on that. And they've fired their own attorneys. So they now go to court without the representation of attorneys, which they've explained to the media is because they can save money doing that. If they are really saving money, then I'm not quite sure why the judges feel that they need to interfere in the matters. But that is something we are opposing, and the judges might well find against us, and the case may well then appear in the media. But it is something that we have to do for the interest of our clients. If you just got a settlement, just by way of example, of 1.5 million, and the judge indicated that they wanted to look at your case and reduce the settlement value, you would expect us to fight that, wouldn't you? Well, that is exactly what we are doing. In between, we spend a lot of time trying to send through documents to a Road Accident Fund that loses everything, or dealing with the courts, which are constantly in the media in terms of the behind-the-scenes administration of the staff. That has nothing to do with the judges at all. I must just emphasize that. It's a separate issue. It is all about the staff, and there are problems with issuing summonses, problems with obtaining trial dates, and there are problems in finding files, which frequently get lost by the court staff and need to be replaced. The media has covered how court officials have demanded cash bribes to issue summonses and require larger bribes to give trial dates. We're not the kind of firm that would ever entertain bribes, but it does give you an idea of what we're dealing with when we go to court. Unfortunately, we're dealing with an inefficient and at times incompetent Road Accident Fund, whose staff members have also made the media recently. In one case, for being paid 80,000 Rand to speed up the payment of a client's case, and in other cases, for demanding money to have meetings to settle cases or to settle and pay bills of cost. One can only imagine what poor results unscrupulous attorneys who involve themselves with the paying of bribes get anyway. And so, while that might sound tempting to some, one would no doubt be shortchanged if you went down that route, not to mention the obvious risk of some jail time as well. The bottom line is that this is one of the hardest fields of law to be in, and those that are not in this field simply have no idea of what is going on behind the scenes. I don't think that the average client has a concept of how poor the administration of the Road Accident Fund and the courts are. Corruption makes the situation much worse. They have no idea that most of the staff of the Road Accident Fund could not even bother to pick up a phone, let alone bother to make an offer in a case. That brings me to the payment situation, or perhaps I should say lack of payments from the Road Accident Fund. I'm going to start with the good news, and that is that I think the situation will improve. At worst, it might take until about June 2021 to improve, but it might be there is a gradual improvement along the line. Right now, We are at the very worst of times. The Road Accident Fund depends on money from petrol and diesel sales every time you fill up your tank, and it typically gets the money about 3 months after the month in question. And as a result, we are now dealing with a time when much of South Africa was locked down 3 months ago and there was very little travel. Because there was very little travel during the lockdown, not much petrol or diesel was sold. And so, the Road Accident Fund is not getting very much money at the end of the month at the moment. The sooner we get to a time frame which is 3 months past when people started traveling again, and the more they travel, the better. I think we're at the worst point right now, and things will slowly improve. But it does mean if somebody's case was settled 5 or 6 months ago, they probably almost have no chance of getting paid right now. Whether it is going to be another 3 or 6 months for them to wait, I don't know. But payments are going very slowly. The Road Accident Fund makes up all sorts of excuses about how payments have to be loaded. And then they are paid on 180 days. But whether it is just deliberate or that they simply don't want to do the work, they make sure that they don't load up those matters. That's despite us bombarding them. And I literally mean bombarding them with phone calls, emails, having staff drop off further copies of the documents at their offices, putting the documents into their hands, etc., etc. We do everything we can to put the paperwork in their hands, but we cannot make them enter it in on their computer system. And there's obviously a benefit to the Road Accident Fund in entering that information slowly, because they can then claim that people are being paid on 180 days after they've loaded it up, except that they never load it up. It becomes an absolute farce. And that's why I wanted to just make this video and tell you what is going on behind the scenes and let you hear it from me and understand that we are battling with it. We also have to pay salaries and all sorts of things. We've actually cut our advertising and are focusing more on YouTube videos, just because times are so tough financially right now for us. We have as much interest as you do in getting paid once a case is settled, as soon as possible. Remember, I'm only talking about people whose cases have been settled. You'll be amazed that over the years that if I say anything about payments being delayed, that some clients who have just started with us, whose case has never been to court and is at least a year away from going to court, will write to me asking where their settlement is. So I'm only talking to about 20% of our clients right now who are at any given time awaiting a payment in a matter. Of course, it relates to every one of you eventually, because at some point your case is settled. And there have been delays in payments for at least 5 years now. But right now, they are at the worst ever. The Road Accident Fund has promised for more than 6 months that it is going to try and take a loan on the money markets and issue some sort of bond to institutional investors, which I think would be attractive, but quite frankly, that does not take too much time to set up. And if they've not done it in 6 months so far since saying they were going to do it, I'm not sure when they are going to do it. They don't appear to have asked the government for help right now, or perhaps they know that the government will not give them any more money. After all, the government has just given more money once again to South African Airways, this time 10.5 billion rand, and they still have the problem of Eskom to resolve. Transnet is not doing too well either, and of course there are also various social policies and considerations that all have to be funded at a time when South Africa had a struggling economy in the first place and then got hit with COVID-19. Things are tough. And there is no denying that. And anybody who wants to pretend that the situation is not so is just being unrealistic and trying to put stupid pressure on their attorneys. I cannot take anybody seriously who does not understand the situation that we find ourselves in. I can certainly be sympathetic to how they are feeling, because I know how my business is feeling. And I know how many of them have had their lives absolutely devastated by accidents, have had to wait years for trial dates, and once their matter is finally settled, get told that they should wait about 7 to 8 months, only to be told now that it will be longer, and there is no certainty as to when it will be paid. It's absolutely frustrating and devastating. Where I'm more positive about the future is that people are traveling again. So the Road Accident Fund is going to start getting more money each and every month going forward. And at the end of February, we always have the budget speech. The Minister of Finance will normally announce extra increases on the fuel levy and hopefully a lump sum for the Road Accident Fund. If he does that, then approximately 3 months later, round about late May or late June, the increased amounts start taking effect. And all of that, together with increased petrol purchases by everybody, will lead to the Road Accident Fund having more money. We might then be able to at least get back to that old 7 or 8 month delay for payments after a case has been settled. Of course, if somehow the Road Accident Fund manages to borrow 17 billion on the international markets, which should not be that hard if they offer a fairly attractive interest rate, which would of course be much cheaper than our clients have to pay if they borrow money while they're waiting, then all the problems could be resolved within a month. As I say, there's no sign of that so far. And given that the Road Accident Fund has been talking about that for 6 months without a thing happening, I am not too convinced about that scenario. I would like it. It sounds like a great dream, but I don't think it is going to happen soon. That is all I have for you. But I think I've pretty much covered what has been the toughest year ever for us in this business. And that is after being in law for 25 years. So it is saying something. And I want to thank all of you for being patient and understanding what we go through while trying our very best to help you. We will always do our best for you, and we will fight your case the whole way and do what is necessary to get the money from the Road Accident Fund in the end. But I really need your support and your patience because we do live in unprecedented times.